All right, so apparently Minister Yildiz still has not concluded his press conference, but we just don't want to keep you waiting, and the General also has a tight schedule to keep, so why don't we get us started, and then the media will join us at some point. I'm Dávid, the Director of the Eurasian Energy Futures Initiative of the Atlantic Council. I had the pleasure to co-direct this report, the completing of Europe from the North-South Corridor to Energy, Transportation and Telecommunications Union, a somewhat long and tricky title, but there is a reason for that. And we had the particular honor to have two distinguished co-chairs, General Jones and Chairman Olechnowicz, oversee and supervise the completion of the report. I just wanted to recognize very quickly some people in the room who lended their support. Dr. Kulczyk was instrumental, and his intellectual leadership was instrumental in realizing this report. Jarek Schroka from Kulczyk Investment was very, very helpful and shepherded and helped all along the way. President Kwasniewski, your support is very, very valuable. And I would also like to recognize John Roberts, who is one of the principal authors of the report on the energy chapter. So with that, let me turn to Ian Brzezinski, my co-collaborator.
Great. Thank you, David, and thank you all for joining us this afternoon. And let me thank also Mr. Kulczyk and Jarek, but also our colleagues from CEEP, Central Europe Energy Partners, who helped co-lead this initiative. And of course, I'd like to thank our two chairmen who provided us the guidance and orchestrated this important study. Now, this study is called Completing Europe. And when we speak of a Europe that's whole, free, and undivided, we often think of democracy and borders. But we overlook often one of the cornerstones to the fulfillment of that vision, and that's the creation of a single European market. And to accomplish that, you need not just regulatory integration, you need something more basic than that. You need the infrastructural foundation necessary for economic integration. That's the roads, the railways, the energy links, the gas lines, the pipelines that link and bind communities, nations, and regions. And General Jones and Paweł Olechnowicz have been gracious in their time in leading the study over the year. It's a study that has 4 elements: pipelines, railroads and highways, transportation, telecommunications. In addition to that, they have a chapter in their study that looks at the financial challenges and opportunities to make the vision of a North-South corridor, one that stretches from the Baltic to the Adriatic and Black Seas, to transform it from a vision to reality. So in brevity of time, I'm going to turn the floor over to Paweł and to General Jones. They'll make some opening remarks, and then we'll turn the floor open to questions and comments. Paweł.
Thank you, Ian. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, so mostly he described, Ian described what we've been, let's say, tackled by this document, completing Europe from the North-South corridor to energy, transportation, and telecommunication union. Why we decided to be, let's say, so wild once we mostly been thinking about energy mix, energy sector in general. So we added transportation and telecommunications, and finally, how to finance that. So that's completing all of it. In my opinion, so well-fledged, the whole package. But we put that together because, I may say the one word, we've been talking about a good communication. And communication, that's also transport, because for investment, if you have bad roads and cannot get to the place you may invest, so the investment will fail. And the same for railway, and this communication is quite poor, much poorer than the western part of Europe. So we have to improve that within the CEE region, so to speak, the countries starting from Poland down to Croatia, EU. But we've been talking touching Balkans Peninsula, a lot of non-EU partners, and talking about energy security, the energy such strategy. We're also touching Turkey. for a future friendship, that means that the southern corridor is included, and also not forgetting about Ukraine and Moldova. So finally, I may describe that there's not a north-south corridor. There's a north-south corridor bringing up us to the better position to complete Europe, but this is in a reality also west-east corridor. So you want to grow up, you know, raise our economy, create, let's say, the better relationship within Europe, and try to find a solution how to work together, you know, to diversify all of the things, diversify energy supply. And that's why we've been talking with the friends and the Atlantic Council, because this is also the way it should be under discussion between by Energy Council, EU, US, and as we already discussed, that document will be at the top of that council agenda. With that, I am very, very happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Paweł. Jim?
Well, thank you very much, and thank you all for being here. As I look at the audience, there are more people who worked on the project than there are other attendees, but that's very good. Thank you, Dr. Kolchik and President Kwasniewski. Thank you very much for your support. And thank you, Paweł, for being such a dynamic and forceful co-chair, was one who deeply believes in this project. Ladies and gentlemen, you might ask, why is an American sitting at this table talking about essentially a European project? And the answer is very simple. Energy binds us together. In the 21st century, we face a number of different threats and challenges. Cybersecurity, energy security, economic security are as important in the 21st century, perhaps even more so than the number of aircraft carriers we have, bombers we have, and so on and so forth. The world has changed. The threats are very asymmetric, but the opportunities that lie ahead of us are extremely exciting if done well. So the U.S. interest in this is very simple. In the 21st century, it is in the interest of the United States to be closely allied with things that are of interest and importance to our European friends. This has been this way since 1945, and it should be this way at least until 2045 or maybe 2145. We have common values, we have common visions, we have common ways in which we look at the world, and it seems to me that this relationship, if done correctly and utilizing both public and private sectors working together on both sides of the transatlantic link, will have global impact, not just regional impact, global impact, and therefore it's important. On the European side, the European Council has already declared on the 24th of October of this year that the North-South Corridor is a critical infrastructure project. And so that is a statement of fact. And so if you look at what's going on in the world, particularly in this region, and particularly where we're located today, energy touches every geostrategic issue that we talk about. The Russian behavior has morphed into something that everyone regrets, but it is not something that can go unanswered. And in my view, this is a long-term strategic response to bad behavior. In the old days, just 15, 20, 30 years ago, we would be flying bombers and rattling sabers and making noises. Today, we have other instruments of response, and energy is one of them. And this is one area where the United States and Europe, by working together, can provide such a long-term strategic response. We need a very holistic approach to energy. Energy security feeds our economic security, and it also contributes to our human security. And so it's obvious, I think, if you look at the report, that the evidence is in that the North-South corridor would strengthen Europe, would reduce dependence on single source of energy, and would enhance the EU climate agenda. And I might also say that I deeply believe that the energy and climate have to be linked. There can be no security without prosperity, and there can be no prosperity without security. So we have to work on this, as I said, very holistically. So the North-South corridor, in my view, can bolster Europe's economic recovery. It can strengthen its competitiveness. It can give new meaning to how European Union can benefit its citizens. And it can re-energize, in a very serious way, the U.S.-European relations. So I would just highlight very quickly 3 top recommendations. The first is to make the North-South corridor the infrastructure priority of the new European Commission and its 300 billion euro infrastructure investment plan. Given the corridor's strategic importance, it should be the priority for public funds for infrastructure investment, and we should seize this historic opportunity. Second, I would put the North-South corridor at the top of the US-EU agenda. I am absolutely, as an American, very proud and very pleased to see the number of knowledgeable Americans here at this conference, talking very well about energy. Our own Secretary of Energy has made I think, a very good contribution to this conference, and we have our Vice President who will arrive in a few hours to deliver hopefully a reinforcing message as well that this is a big issue. So I think we should put it at the top of our agenda, along with trade talks. The North-South corridor should be a main feature of the agenda, and in my opinion, it's a new way for the American administration to demonstrate friendship, leadership, and support on a common agenda. And thirdly, I would think it's extremely important, and maybe more than anything else, it's important that the North-South Corridor Forum leverage the private sector and regional governments, because for the corridor to succeed, it's going to need both American and EU leadership. It's going to need private sector engagement from both sides of the Atlantic, and it's going to need the cooperation of our our national governments. And very importantly, I think we should establish an ambassador-level North-South Corridor Forum to ensure that this isn't just an idea that pops up and doesn't have any legs, as we say. This is a big idea. I would just conclude by saying in the U.S. we have a saying that if everything is important, nothing is important. Ladies and gentlemen, this is really important. Thank you.
General Jones, thank you for those remarks. We have time for about 1 or 2 questions, so I'd like just to open up the floor. Ana Palacio.
Well, I want to comment on this. I think I didn't have time to read it, but I have done what I normally do when I consider to buy a book, is that I read a chapter that I know well. And mind you, I haven't read energy. I have read the transport chapter because it's shorter and because I know it well. And I think it's a very interesting document. It's a very interesting document that summarizes a mass of different official documents on the European Commission. And let me just make a comment. What I have missed is that in this which has an ambition to be, a framework, you don't speak about something that is going to have a phenomenal impact. It's already having, and it's this new Silk Road initiative by China. This is going to put under pressure all our transport structure. I mean, for those that do not know, I'm coordinator of this. I'm one of the 10T coordinators. And as I say, I commend the work. The only thing is that precisely because of the corridors that you have taken, I think there is a dimension in the future that we have to plan today.
Thank you, Brent. High praise, particularly a 10T coordinator. our principals are under real time constraints, so I'm going to take one more question. Anyone out there? There we are.
Good afternoon, gentlemen, and thank you. I look forward to good afternoon. I look forward to digesting everything that's in the report. Could I just ask, generally speaking, though, what do you see as the primary challenge? If you could pick one, what would be the primary challenge to the success of the plan? Thank you.
The primary challenge would be that everybody applauds the vision and provides no resources to achieve it. One of my favorite sayings is, a vision without resources is a hallucination. We don't want this to be a hallucination. That's the real challenge.
Yeah, and we are fully conscious that proper professional delivery is the main issue. Even wherever and whenever I am, in that world for a conference, people are talking about a partnership, the logic, common actions, and so on. We've been observing that we are different in Europe, so therefore it's the really time now that we deliver the common idea and also the voice of us, information that once we are not, that the Europe will not go on this way, and implement all of the existing projects properly and coordinate that and manage will be not completed. So therefore, that's a very, very important what General John said. We have to deliver, but it must be find the resources, proper resources, to implement that.
David?
Thank you, Chairman Olechnowicz. Thank you, General Jones. Thank you for your leadership, your strategic guidance. I think this is a critically important report at a critically important time with the new European leadership, and we hope that the recommendations will be implemented. And in a way, I'm quite glad that eventually this turned out not to be a press conference, because all of you in the room are key stakeholders, people who can move this agenda forward through your positions, and we ask you to do that because this is really critically important to complete Europe, not just the European Union, but Europe as a whole. So thank you very much for coming. Let me just finally recognize two other collaborators who are key, Janusz Lux, the CEO of CEEP, and Marcin Bodio from LOTOS, who also provided invaluable support in creating this report. And with that, we conclude this eventually not press conference, so thank you so much.
Let me give one also thanks to Fred Kemp, who also provided us great support in the Atlantic Council. Who? 2000 Atlantic Council Fellow. Thank you.